Yes, hello, welcome of course to Premier League Overtime. We are back for another week and not many weeks left as we get closer to the grand final, just a couple of weeks away now. Sam Tugwell here on the desk, and alongside me as he is each and every week, the great two-time champion from the Forestville Eagles, Doug McDonald-Taylor. Welcome to you, Dougie.
Thank you, Sam. It's good to be here. Prelim final week, mate. It's come up. It's a great week to be a part of. We've got two teams that are already sitting back, feeling pretty good about themselves, heading into the grand final with a week off. And we've got four teams, two men and two women teams, Sam, just sitting back, well not sitting back, preparing for a prelim final, do or die clash.
That's it, very well put, because right now there are of course two games left this weekend coming up, 4 games in total. And the two big ones that we're going to preview, of course, is the prelim rounds, which are coming up this weekend on Saturday, featuring the Sturt Sabres and West Adelaide Bearcats in men's and women's games. And we have two very special guests from each of those clubs here today to chat all about that. Firstly, I'll introduce from the women's West Adelaide Bearcats team, Tahlia Fejo. A very nice welcome to you.
Cheers.
It's good to have you here. And of course, from the Sturt Sabres Basketball Club, playing for the men quite clearly, is Josiah Lee. Very warm welcome to you as well, mate.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys here. We have a very big show coming up, but first we're going to chat about your games on the weekend. There were 4 of them. You were involved in 2. And first we'll chat about yours, Tahlia, the women's second semi-final. It was the Norwood Flames up against your Bearcats. And sadly for your team, you went down and a fairly close contest. It was 10 points the difference, but very, very low scoring. The Flames straight through the grand final, of course, with that win. You had an opportunity to go through. You didn't play, though, due to an unfortunate injury. Can you run us through that?
Well, I had an infected boil on my hand, but thankfully it's all healed now, so I'll be ready to play the next game.
You'll be back next week?
Yep.
Beautiful. And, of course, on the weekend, I'm sure you were there and you had a look.
It drove me crazy on the bench, man.
Did not being able to get some minutes. Norwood's defence, I guess you look at the scoreline, 53-43, you start to think there probably must have been some really good defensive stuff going on.
Yeah, they all around they're a pretty good team. Unfortunately, our shots were not dropping, and our offense was a little bit
Not great.
Yeah.
23% for the night, Doug. West just didn't have their offensive game going.
23% would probably be a season low for the Westies girls, I would have thought. 17 from 73. The unfortunate thing, well, the positive thing, they actually had 17 more shots, but they weren't able to convert that. And like you said, Norwood's defence, they had 8 block shots. And, to keep a team to 43, any team to 43, let alone in a final, was a pretty good effort. But, I mean, Westies keep Norwood to 53, which is pretty low as well. So it was a grind of a game. Jess Foley hasn't played since the 28th of May. And she's come out and played 37 minutes, 10 points, 8 boards, 4 assists and 4 blocks, Sam. So, first of all, did you know, were you aware she was going to play?
Yeah, we had heard some rumours about hearing that she'd play. So, but we kind of prepared for it at training, but unfortunately it didn't work as well as we thought.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a huge in, and, and to not play for months and then come out and play 37 minutes in a final is a huge effort. And for mine, they go straight to the favourites now. Marissa Stabai, good game with 14, Sammy. Jess Good had a good game, 9 points, 11 boards. She was 2 of 16 from the field, though, so the Westies did a pretty good job on her. Made her take some tough ones. But and Chelsea Brook off the bench was a handful as well for the West Adelaide Bearcats. She had 10 points and 5 boards as well. And Westies, with Tahlia out, they didn't probably have the depth that we've been talking about in the last few weeks. So obviously someone else comes in the starting lineup, and which probably definitely affected them. They didn't have anyone in double figures. And as you'd expect, when you only score 43, Ashley Vordermay had a pretty good game with 8.6 boards and 4 assists. Emma Wiedemann had a bit of a cameo off the bench. She only played 10 minutes. She got up 9 shots and had 8 points. So she definitely did her job. But finals basketball, Sam, Norwood came to play, and they had probably had a few doubters, dropping a couple of games late in the season. But I think they've put those doubters to bed. They've gone straight through the grand final. Jess Foley's back, and very much favourites.
And of course, consequently, the West Adelaide Bearcats are through to the preliminary final. Still a chance to head through to the grand final against Nord, but they need to face the Southern Tigers and beat them again. They did that a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, should I say now, when they met in the qualifying final. You got up then. Are you confident now that you got home court that you can probably do that once more?
Yeah, I trust my team. Like we work pretty well together. We're pretty connected. And we're gonna have our home stadium. Everyone's gonna be there to back us up. So
it's going to be an exciting night indeed down there at Port Adelaide. I'm sure the crowds are going to come, especially Southern. They will travel. They went to the Central Districts game a little earlier in the year, and pretty much a home crowd-like atmosphere for them as well. So they will travel, especially for this game. So it's going to be a fantastic contest up at Port Adelaide. So that was the first, the second semi-final, should I say. That's how it's termed. The first semi-final was between the Southern Tigers and Forestville Eagles out at Morphett Vale. The Tigers getting up 90-62. They absolutely demolished the Eagles, who've been in some good form lately, Doug, but when you come up against a classy side like the Tigers, who had a string of scorers, Fawcett, Robinson, Cunningham and McKendrick, all firing on the night. You couldn't stop them. I think they shot at 46% between them. There was just no stopping them whatsoever. The Tigers just run home and did it with style.
They did, and their stars really shone through. Like you said, Fawcett, 21 points, 15 boards, 6 assists and 5 steals, Sam. So that's as good as stat line as you'll see. Tara Robinson was big in the guts. She really stepped up against a small Eagles lineup. And I think Fawcett and Robinson probably shared the load with Olivia Thompson. And Olivia was kept at 19, 6 of 21, 13 boards. As good as stat line as that is, that's actually a poor game for Olivia. So well done for the Tigers girls nullifying her. And Sam DiFrancesco, 19 points. Ruby Luders off the bench, 8 points, 8 boards, but it wasn't enough. I mean, it was done. If it wasn't done at a quarter time, it was 27-12 at quarter time. Sam, it was 49-19. So a 30-point gap at half time. The game was over. And as good as the runners the Eagles girls have had, young team, they really went up to it on the weekend. The Tigers obviously coming off a loss, rocked up ready to play and to keep their season alive. And they, like you said, they did it in style. 56-33 on the board, so they monstered the Eagles on the boards, which will be key for the Westies to try and even that up this week. And points in the paint, 40-20. So too big, too strong, too good.
Yeah, like you said, Olivia Thompson kept to 19. I guess that's been their scoring avenue all year, and it's quite easy to work out whether or not, if they've got points required on the board and chasing a deficit, they're gonna just go to her and try and get her to score every time. And the Tigers were very good at shutting that down in defence, so that was essentially the way the day went. So that's what you've got for a preliminary final in the women's comp, Southern and West. So that's coming up on the weekend. We'll preview that in a moment, but we're going to chat about the men's games as well. And sticking to the Morphett Vale games, the Southern Tigers took on Nord as well. And this was a better game, but it was still very much a Tigers lead for the majority of it. They put on a show and locked in their first grand final appearance in 18 years, Doug, since Noarlunga City Tigers represented back there in 98. That is a very big achievement for the club, and a boisterous crowd down there at Morphett Vale certainly did get them across the line. Starling and Creek putting on an absolute show, as they generally do, and they made for some serious entertainment. Big doubles, and now they roll on into the big dance, the grand final, in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, they do, and it's great to see a Tigers club in the grand final. It's been a while, both in their men's and women's side, to make a grand final. So well done to them. Doubles. I mean, Alex Starling, 26 and 20 rebounds, Sam. And Mitch Creek, 31-11 and threw in 5 assists. I actually looked at the box score halfway through the third, and out of their 64 points, Starling and Creek had scored 47 of them, and they had 0 points off the bench. So, not quite a two-man show. They had some other contributors, but those two were the standouts. Norwood just didn't have an answer for them. Andrew Webber was well held with Norwood, which was key. If he doesn't get 15 and 20 points, Norwood are going to struggle to beat Southern. And he was well held, 2 of 11 for 7 points. He needs to lift. Holmes had a big game. He got the better of Big Dodman. He had 20 points and 15 boards. But Matty Lysett also well held, 12 points, well below his season average. That's not enough for him. Ian O'Boyle didn't score. He came in the starting group, didn't score. He averages 9 a game. So, and didn't get a lot from their bench either, Sam. So I mean, there was 52-31 second half, Tigers' way. So they just overran them, the Southern boys, and had a really convincing win for a semi-final. Considering I think most people thought it was going to be a bit closer than that, including the Norwood boys. So they were disappointed. You would have had your eye on this one, mate. Starling and Creek. How do you even think about going about stopping those boys?
It's tough, man. It's tough to guard both of them. Starling, you just got to try to keep him off the offensive glass, which is easier said than done because he's really athletic. And Creek, he's real strong. He's really worked on his shooting, and it's hard to guard him now because you can't really sag off him because he'll knock down the three, and he can get to the paint also. So it's tough to guard both of them, man. You just gotta bring your hard hat in that game.
Well, Norwood, of course, is the team you've got coming up. They've just had the Mickey made out of them by the Tigers. Do you take anything out of that? You think their confidence will be a little bit lowered, but they'll be hungrier than ever?
No, I don't think their confidence will be low at all. They're a pretty veteran team. So I think those guys will just be coming in, expecting to win, just like, we are too. So they'll be coming in, firing on all cylinders at their home stadium too. So it'll be a tough game. That's
the road trip coming up to Mars Stadium in the prelim there for the men's, because the Sturt Sabres, your men, Jos, made a very tight win over the Woodville Warriors. This game was terrific, really, in entertainment-wise. It came right down to the final seconds. You got your money's worth, but the Sabres did survive a late charge. I think they were up by about 10 points somewhere in the fourth quarter, and the Warriors basically stepped all over that, took the lead very shortly towards the end, and the Sabres were just very good at composing themselves and getting the job done in the end. And now they're through to a prelim. A couple of missed shots through at the end there by Woodville, Jos. I'm sure you can run us through a little bit of that. How'd that game transpire in the last minute?
Well, we just had some guys kind of step up. Isaac White stepped up and made some big shots, and then Nelson Kirksey had a great game. It was pretty tough to slow him down. He was kind of firing on all cylinders, hitting threes and mid-range and getting to the basket, to the free throw line. But at the end of the game, they kind of had some free throws to keep it pretty close, and they missed a few of them. And then they had a shot kind of at the end, but they didn't get really a clean look at it. So, we didn't play our best, but we got the win. So
you seem to be very happy with that.
Yeah, as long as we got the win, that's all we're worried about.
That's it. Dougie, I don't know what more you can take from this other than Isaac White just having a blinder. Top scorer for the Sabres. The young man is doing incredible things.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how Isaac was going to go in the finals, because he's obviously had a pretty good year. But finals basketball, men's basketball in this state league, it is a different ball game altogether. It's tougher and big games up against big opponents, and he really shone through. 19 points. Yeah, he even got 9 boards, the little fella. So he definitely stepped up, and he probably needed to, because the Sturt front line was very well held. I mean, you see Daniel Johnson, Jon Warbout and Tim Klassen combined for 11 points. So Woodville did a fantastic job on those three. And generally, if you think you do that, you'd probably come away with a win. But that's what I love about this Sturt team, is they're so deep. I mean, they ran 11 players on the weekend in a final, in a close final. I mean, sometimes coaches go to their bench if it's a blowout or whatever, but close final to run 11 deep. I mean, there's obviously a lot of trust within your group. Everyone's obviously, no matter who gets thrown in, everyone obviously trusts that people are going to come in and do their job. I mean, you had Jack Turnbull and Jacob Rigoni coming in for 29 combined. Just shows you how deep. I mean, you can shut down a Johnson and a Warbout and get those guys coming in and doing their thing. It makes it very tough to stop when you just continue got guys rotating through. I mean, how is it been in the group that you're in now? Is it a pretty close group? Because it certainly seems like it just by looking on from the outside.
Oh yeah, everybody's pretty close. Everybody's friends. They're always joking around and stuff at practice and things like that. But I think those young guys, like the Isaacs and the Jacobs, they play well because they go up against the DJs and the Jans and the TKs and stuff, at practice, and those guys take it to them at practice, and they hold their own. So we're pretty confident, no matter who's coming off the bench or who's playing that, they're going to do a good job. So we're expecting anybody, whoever's in there, should step up and do what they got to do so that we can win. So we're pretty confident in that.
Big games coming up on the weekend, the prelims, because Sturt have earned it, and the Norwood Flames will be looking to step up as well. So that's what you've got coming up, and we'll chat about those very shortly. But of course, we've got two very special guests here today, and we might as well chat just briefly about how their seasons have gone, what's going on, I guess, in your basketballing lives right now, because finals basketball for you, Tahlia, probably something new. How are you enjoying it?
I'm loving it. I love the thrill of very competitive games. I love pushing myself, and like the team that I'm with at the moment, they're really great bunch of girls to be around at the moment. So yeah, it's good.
Doug, we've mentioned her name throughout the year. A fantastic season. I mean, we've mentioned her name with needing practice of the last name. It's probably one of the hardest four-letter last names we've ever come across. Fejo. I think we've had all sorts of different pronunciations, but nonetheless, she's had a fantastic season, and is a lot of the reason why their scoring lineup is so good.
Yeah, definitely. They're a bit of a shaky start for the West girls, but you've just seen to sort of come together, sort of a little bit, maybe sort of close to halfway through the year, and you've barely lost since then. You're getting a great spread across the board. I mean, you've got a lot of contributors. You go 7 or 8 deep. What's the feeling around the group? Are you a close group, just like the Sturt guys? Because you seem to have a lot of contributors coming in and playing well together.
Yeah, we are a pretty close group. Us girls, like, just I don't know what it was. I think beginning of the season, coach kind of just like told us the way we're going to win, like, is to be together and like stick together on court and off court, and so I reckon that's what's getting us through, like how well we know each other and how well we're staying together.
You didn't start the season incredibly well.
Yeah,
It didn't blow up the competition and make us go, wow. But it was like Dougie just mentioned, from about halfway through the season, that something obviously just clicked. Do you know what that was?
I don't know. Coach ripped into us a few times. Nah. All coaches do that.
He's an emotional guy.
No, I can't say anything on screen about that. But he's a great coach. I can't really put a finger on what it was that got us to stick together. But something clicked, and it's been working since. So I'm not going to complain about it.
It's a great basketball. Has got you to I think it was third in the end. And now you're in the final series and a prelim, one step away from a grand final. How does that make you feel to think that grand final was that close?
Whew, got me nervous a little bit. But at the beginning of the season, a couple of us girls were like, I don't think we really stand that much of a chance, and we've surprised ourselves. And I think my whole team, like, we're just pretty stoked that we've made it this far, and we're definitely going to give it our best efforts.
Belief levels must be very high.
Yeah, that's one thing we work on together, like the men's Olympic women's team. Believing in yourselves is what kind of got them as far as they went. So believing in ourselves is an important key. So yeah, we're definitely believing in ourselves and each other, and yep.
We've spoken about how good that story is for you girls this year, and I mean, with that sort of analogy, it certainly does put that into perspective. It has been very much a belief thing, and they have driven themselves to very great heights this year. So, best of luck to them.
Also, congratulations on you heading to WA off a great season with the Bearcats.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was really unexpected. At the beginning of the year, I ended up playing in Baptist Carnival, and out of nowhere, the coach, Andy Stewart, came up to me after the game, and he was like, I want your name and your number. And I was like, you might have to go see my mum about that. She's just over there. I wasn't 100% sure who that was, so I was like, I'm going to have to be a little bit cautious here, but nah. They ended up finding out who he was, and then got details like sent to each other, and then it just went from there, and I'm really lucky and blessed to be able to have that opportunity. So, yeah.
Well, it's come off a great year with the Bearcats, and it would be a great opportunity for Tahlia. So, what's on next? What are we talking about next, Sam?
We'll move on because Josiah's here waiting to talk as well.
Okay.
So, Dougie, if you can pick up on the roll sheet here, we've
got a lot of notes sent to me today, Sam.
There's a lot going on. It's okay, understandable. But Jos, just the same. You guys have probably haven't set the competition alight early in the year, but then Daniel Johnson came around. Maybe there was some sort of, inspiring element to that you guys have thought, okay, we've got the package group now that you can go all the way. What happened?
Well, obviously once DJ comes to your team, you get a lot better. He's a great player, but I think Sturt has lots of good guards. A lot of people that can shoot the ball really well, and things like that. And then you have the Jans and the TKs and things like that. So when you bring the DJ in, it just kind of fits with everybody. So that's just kind of how it went. Once we saw DJ come to practice, hitting fadeaways at 7 foot, it was like, I think we'll be all right for a little bit. So, we tried to make sure that we, didn't necessarily change the way we play or anything like that. But obviously, you want to get DJ the ball. You want to get him the ball, but DJ is really he's really good at he's not a selfish player at all. I feel like he gets more excited when someone else scores than when he hits like a fadeaway jump shot or something like that. So he's done a good job of showing me especially, and I'm sure the other guys just different ways to score and how we can basically just use him as a and score off of him and things like that. So it's just kind of came together all at the right time. So.
Well, you're brand new to the Sabres this year, and I guess with this sort of success around you, I'm sure you're really enjoying your time there.
Yeah. I love the Sturt guys. Since the day one that I got here, they've all been, they're funny guys. You know what I mean? Like Jan, and he's a funny guy and things like that. So
Jan is a very funny guy.
He is. He's a funny guy, man. I laugh at him all the time. But they're just a good group of guys, man. They they just accepted me when I got here, and I think I took a different approach than most other imports. I kind of wanted to just make sure that I'll do whatever it takes for us to win the game. So that doesn't mean I'm shooting a bunch of shots or things like that. When you have a lot of other good players around you, it makes my job obviously easier as the point guard to get the Isaac White to the ball, or Daniel Johnson or Jan and TK and guys like that. So it's so it's been good. And Coach Rags, obviously he's an X's and O's guy, you know what I mean? But he's done a lot of just helping me chug along and to figure out because obviously you guys play a little bit different out here than we do in the States. So he's helped me to kind of get along there and figure out the game. So it's been a good transition for me.
You're from Colorado. Tell us, how do you go from playing? Where were you playing in Colorado first, and how do you come out to?
I went to Shadron State College, and it's a Division II school in Nebraska.
Okay.
It's in the RMAC, so it's a really good conference. But after that, in America, if you don't go pro straight out, then obviously there's really not too much to do. You just got to get a job. So with some people that I got in contact with, and Coach Rags, I got an opportunity to kind of get sponsored and come out here and play with Sturt, and now I'm just sitting here talking to you guys. So.
Was that a long journey from the US to Australia? Did you what was the sort of thought process of going, okay, I want to, take my basketballing, further and head to Australia? That must have been a big decision.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like I didn't want to stop playing, and obviously, I want to play and play at the highest level I can, and continue even after this. But Australia, I just known some people from Australia. There were some people that played on my team and also in our league that were really good. And they were from Australia, and I just, when I just watched them, just some of the things that they did and how they played was kind of intriguing. The skills that they used, they weren't always the most athletic, but somehow they figured out how to be effective, on a consistent basis. And obviously in America, it's kind of different. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can be athletic and be good, but the higher you go, you obviously have to acquire the skills too. So I figured what better way to figure that out and put that into my game than just to come out here and, figure it out myself. So, and that's been huge for me, just learning certain things that I would have never learned in America. So,
it's probably not the best time to ask, but I mean, have you got future ambitions to want to play further here in Australia or not?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even if it's not here in Australia, it was kind of just like an opportunity for me early, more of a learning experience, but I definitely
Stepping stone.
Yeah, stepping stone. That's why you get paid the big. No, but yeah, I want to keep playing. I think I believe in myself. I believe I have a lot of potential. I just have to put some pieces together, and I think I'll be all right. So.
Well, you're certainly on the right track, that's for sure, mate.
Yeah.
And your team's flying. In the preliminary final now, it's, just like the Bearcats, you're just that far away from grasping, 4 quarters essentially, from grasping an opportunity at being a champion of the Premier League. What does that mean to you and your team?
It means a lot. Obviously, I didn't. I think it means. At first, to me, it was just kind of like I was just playing. But as you get to know these guys, like it takes this, extremely seriously. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
There's some huge rivalries and things like that. So, and as I, obviously got closer to them, now to me it's like I really want to win. Like every possession is a big possession. So, it's a big deal. So.
I'm glad the transitions come through like that, Doug.
Yeah, it's such a good insight about coming out here and sort of learning new skills from Aussies. So that's one for the Aussies, Sam. But also you like rivalries, and in the Premier League there are a lot of rivalries, and not too many bigger than Sturt versus Norwood men. I wouldn't have thought either. So another big rivalry this week.
Before we get to those prelim games, because we will chat about them very shortly, Doug, the Halls-Woollacott Awards are actually coming up the day after the prelims. That's Sunday this weekend, and there's a fair bit going on in that. I'm sure you've got some players that you've kept your eyes on during the year that you think will probably be decorated in some nice awards of some sort on the day. There's, I think, Team of the Years. There's, of course, the Woollacott and Halls medals. Who have you got your eyes on in terms of the men's and women's there? Because there's some big names that have been playing very well this year.
Yeah, okay. I'll just rearrange my notes because they weren't in that order, Sam. Yeah. The Halls medal women, for me, and I don't think I'm alone here, I think it's going to be Olivia Thompson, and then probably Daylight will be the next one. I think she's going to romp it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagle, but they won a lot of games, the Eagles, and in all those wins she'd probably get 3 votes, pretty much in all of them, and I think she'll get some 1s and 2s and some losses as well. So, but look, there's going to be a lot of people that will poll okay. Molly McKendrick will poll well. Yeah. Taraya Cunningham will probably poll well, especially early. Jess Good will definitely poll well for the Flames. She's had a great year. Tahlia will probably pick up some votes, you would think, along the way. But they're probably, especially Olivia for me, mate, for the Halls. And, Joe Hill will get some votes. So there's going to be a lot of people that will pick up the votes along the way. But I can't see anyone knocking off Olivia Thompson, mate. Men's, for me, it's a 2-horse race. Mitch Creek and Nelson Kirksey. Now, that's not to say that there's not some very good players floating around that are going to vote well, but for me, they're the 2 standouts. And if I'm going to choose, I'm going to go with Nelson for a couple of reasons. One, Mitch, he played 3 more games than Mitch, so that could come into it. And also, Mitch plays with Alex Starling, so Alex is definitely going to poll well. And so he'll probably take some votes. But Mitch, either one of them would be fantastic. Woollacott medalists. They both probably deserve it. Doyley from Eagles will poll well, but Jake Rouse will take votes off him. Matty Lysett will poll well. Jacob Holmes will take some votes off him. And one guy who we haven't really spoken about is Adrian Coleman for South. Now, he's averaged 22 points a game, 9.4 boards, 4.5 assists a game. He's only played 15 games, though, and South have barely notched up a win. So he might get a few 1 and 2 votes. He might be a little bit of a dark horse. But for mine, and Johnson, DJ hasn't played enough games, so he probably won't get it on. So they're probably the ones for me, Sammy, for the big one anyway. Yeah,
well, Starling, like you mentioned, in there won 2 years ago. So Woodville Warriors, if they were to get Kirksey to win, that'd be 2 in 3 years. So that's not too bad for the club in terms of Woollacott medalists. So there's that for you. But of course, Team of the Years. I'm sure there's 5 players in the comp for each. I'm not sure if you've prepped this one or not.
I have. It's pretty tough because I don't know how they pick it because back in quite a few years ago when I played, they'd have 2 guards.
Front court, back court.
They have 2 guards. Oh, is that what they do?
I don't know. I'm assuming.
They had 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a centre.
Yeah.
Now, the teams I pick probably wouldn't involve a centre. I mean, there aren't that many true centres floating around. And for example, you look at the men's, the true centres, Luke Stanbridge, Blake Truslove, Daniel Carlin. These guys are all good players. They're all good centres. Are they good enough for the All-Star 5? For mine, they're not. They're not far off. I would probably go smaller, so I'd have I'd put Dawley in as a guard. You'd have Mitch Creek, obviously, Nelson Kirksey. So I'd still pick a 5 that will play together. So those 3, Alex Starling, there's 4. So who do you go for the 5th? For me, then you argue, has Johnson played enough games? Well, I think if you're playing finals, you probably have played enough games. So I would probably put DJ in as well for the 5. Matty Lysett, Jacob Holmes, pretty unlucky not to make it. So for the men, for mine, it's Doyle, Kirksey, Creek, DJ and Alex Starling.
It's a pretty good lineup.
It's a pretty good lineup. And for the women, Olivia, obviously, once again, there's only a couple of true centres. Tara Robinson's one of them. Will she make it? I think if she made it, I think she'd be reasonably deserved. I don't think too many would go, oh, she doesn't deserve it. Yep. She's not in my 5 though, Sam.
Oh.
Now, and once again, do you put Morgan Yeager in? For me, she's a very good point guard. Does she deserve to go in? Well, I don't know. I don't know if she deserves to.
Opal Maida might go in before her with plenty of points.
No, I haven't got Opal in there. I'm going to ask Tahlia, who do you think should be the point guard for the All-Star 5?
You don't ask guard that.
Who have you played against? Do you think it's been the most challenging this year?
Should it be you or should it be someone else? Who do you think is the best point guard in the league?
She says that, it's definitely.
I don't know, but on your opinion of Morgan Yeager, I've played with her and against her quite a few years, and she's definitely a really good guard. Like, in my opinion, I played state with her and played against her like for a fair few years, and my opinion of her as a player is pretty high. She's definitely a good player and a good teammate. So. Well,
the Eagles had only lost 2 games before she left, Sam, and if she was still here, she would have qualified for finals. So I'm going to throw her in.
Okay.
So I'm going to chuck her in. And my front court, now there's no true centre here, but it's Olivia Thompson, Molly McKendrick, and Jess Good.
Yes.
Now, some unlucky omissions there. Jo Hill, Ashley Vordermay has had a good year, but they didn't make it. And so I need another guard. So if Morgan Yeager's the point guard, I need an off guard. So who do you go? Sam DiFrancesco's had a great year. Shannon Mackay's had a great year. And Tareya Cunningham's had a great year. One of those 3 I think will get in. Who would you choose, Tahlia?
What are those names again? Sorry.
Tareya Cunningham, Sam DiFrancesco, and Shannon Mackay. Who's getting in out of those 3?
Just mentally blanked her name. From Tigers. Yeah, that one. Yeah, she's a really good player on court and off court. She's really lovely. She gave me and a couple of my friends some advice about college and stuff. But yeah, she's a good player.
Well, you don't get in the All-Star 5 for being a nice person, but
she's a great player.
She has had a great year. She's up the top in all of the stats. So, and the Tigers finished second. So we'll stick her in.
Yeah, but I was going to put Mackay in, but that's all right because everyone's got their own. Hey, she's a great person, so there you go. It just adds to it. Well, there's a little bit of a Halls-Woollacott Medal Awards Day preview for you. I don't know if you had any more on that. Coaches or whatnot?
I will go through the coaches quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, Adrian Coleman, did you play against him for South?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How good is he? Because his stats say he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a good player, man. I feel like he's kind of positionless. He's big, like you would think he would play like the 3-4, but the first time against us, he posted us up the whole game, and then the second time he was playing point guard.
Yeah.
So with that team, no disrespect to South, but he had to do a lot of the heavy lifting there. But he's definitely a good player. His stats, also prove that. So he's definitely a good player.
Coach of the year for mine, Sam, in the men's, you can't go past Dean Nyberg. 1 loss. He's taken a team. I mean, sure enough, people are going to say they've had the cattle, but you still need to be able to coach them, and to go from outside the finals to the top of the table with only 1 loss, you are coach of the year for mine. And in the women, you could pretty much pick any of the top 5 coaches, and I don't think anyone would say they don't deserve it because all 5 are really good coaches. I'm going to go with Jess Foley purely because one, they've only lost 3 games, and they've had they've had a few obstacles along the way. I mean, Jess got injured herself. Taylor Ortleb went to college, and they obviously lost Talbot as well. So to lose all that stardom and still only lose 3 games, Sam, Jess gets my vote. Honourable mention, I'm going to give to Monica Bello. That's a really young team, and although they've got the best player in the league, that really young team, a lot of people probably didn't think was going to make the finals, and they did. And so honourable mention to Monica, and an honourable mention to Daniel and me as well, who's taken the Woodville team. Once again, I didn't think we were going to make the finals. I also didn't know how good Nelson Kirksey was going to be, but Daniel and me gets an honourable mention for mine and the men.
Very nice. Well, there's the Halls-Woollacott Awards. We'll bring you all the...
Got one more award, Sam.
Oh, far out. They just keep coming.
The Dougie Fowl King Award.
I thought you were about to say the Doug McDonald-Taylor Award. Was this?
Well, the Dougie Fowl King is basically I was pretty good at fouling, so that's why I've named it after myself. But Ramaya...
Keep the dad jokes for fun.
Ramaya Simpson. Now, this guy is an absolute jet at fouling. I mean, he puts me to shame. 80 personal fouls. Now, the next best is Trent Files with 70. So he's 10 fouls ahead of the next person. He's only played 20 games and he averages 22 minutes a game. So he averages 4 fouls a game and just plays over half a game, Sam. So, I mean, Ramaya Simpson, I mean, that is excellent work. Dougie Fowl Award. And six occasions he's got more fouls than points. So well done. Great season, Mr. Simpson. Well done, mate.
Oh, outstanding. All right. Well, Halls-Woollacott Awards Day is coming up on Sunday. So next week we will bring you all of the stuff that happened on the weekend and we'll chat more about that. But all the important stuff is coming up on Saturday night. And these are the previews for the games that are called preliminary finals. And the women's one is first. West, Adelaide and Southern. They meet again, this time at Port Adelaide, where the Bearcats will have the edge venue-wise, and they won 2 weeks ago again against the Tigers by 12. And this is the most intriguing part for me, Doug. The last 5 games at home, the West Adelaide Bearcats have won, and they have a 7-3 record at home this year as well. So right now, they are looking very formidable at home. Of course, very hard to split as per usual. But I want to get your opinion quickly first, Tahlia, on the Southern Tigers and how you think you'll match up against them on the weekend.
Well, the key is to stay together as a team. Like, that's basketball's a team sport. That's pretty, standard. Mm-hmm. So I reckon staying together as a team. I'm pretty sure our coach has more to say about this than I would. But pretty much just listen to the coach.
Tigers are one of the only 3 teams to have beaten the Bearcats, though, at Port Adelaide, out of those 7-3. So makes things very interesting, Doug. How do you see this one playing out?
Oh, this is going to be, both prelim finals are going to be amazing. So get out and watch the games, guys. But I'm interested in the matchups. So you'll line up on Fisher, do you believe?
Yeah, I reckon that's what it is. I just rock up to the game. He tells me what to do.
No focusing earlier? No?
I do. Just, make sure I don't eat Mackies or anything before the game. And,
Very unlike me.
Who gets the job on Molly McKendrick? He played on the 2 weeks ago. That's probably
I think that was... Yeah, I can't remember. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. The front court battle is going to be good though. Tara Robinson and Danielle Fawcett up against Holland and Vordermeyer. That's going to be key. The Tigers were huge on the boards on the weekend, Sam. So the Bearcats need to do a job on those 2, get them off the boards. But you really need your team game going. You need everyone coming in and playing their role like you've done for the best part of the season. So Campbell up against Cunningham is going to be a great matchup. They were probably cancelled each other out 2 weeks ago, so that'll be key. It'll be interesting to see who does better there. But Thacker didn't play on the weekend, so I don't know if she's playing this week. But that'll be key. If she doesn't play, then that's their best bench player not playing. If she does, you kept her quiet a couple of weeks ago, and that was key to you guys winning. So this can go either way. Tigers are going to be up and about after their win, and they will make... The thing about losing, the way this finals system works, they lost to the Bearcats 2 weeks ago, so they can go away and make some adjustments now and come back, much like Serbia did with the Aussie Boomers. So it's really up for the Bearcats to they can't just go away and go, okay, we beat them. We'll just play the same and beat them again. They'll probably have to make some adjustments as well. Just because they won 2 weeks ago doesn't mean you don't have to work on your game and work on your game structure. So, but Tim Brenton will be up to that. So I'm going to pick the Westies girls. I'm loving the story. I'm loving where they've come from. Well outside the top 5, come through the double chance. They had to use their double chance last week against Nord, and I think they will get up at home.
Wow, big call. So that's the weekend, of course, on Saturday. The winner plays Norwood, of course, in the grand final on September 10th. So a lot of riding on this game. Second one, the men's preliminary final at Mars Stadium. This is Norwood and Sturt. Austral Sports will be there, of course, a 7 p.m. start. And once again, these two sides incredibly even, only separated by 4 points last time, Doug, they played in the qualifier. Essentially a dress rehearsal now because it's win or go home for these two.
Norwood versus Sturt men's final. This really, as much as I wouldn't want to pull on a Norwood or a Sturt shirt, this makes me want to. I'd love to be playing in this game. This is going to be awesome. I'm interested in some of the matchups, mate. Who's going to get Andrew Webber? Yourself?
Is that the shorter one?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, no. Isaac would probably guard him.
Isaac?
Yeah.
The young fella against the old bull. I like that.
Yeah.
Isaac got the better of him 2 weeks ago, so Andrew will definitely know that. And Andrew was kept quiet last week as well, Sam. So that'll be key. The winner of that battle is going to go a long way. So who are you going to get? Are you going to get O'Boyle if he starts?
I'm really not sure, man.
I think you are. I just don't think you're telling us.
Who else they got, man?
Well, that's who they started. Holmes, Lysett, Daniel Webber, O'Boyle started on the weekend, but they often start Benny Howe, and Andrew Webber, of course, starts as well.
Can't give away too much, man.
No, I understand that.
You know
So,
what I mean?
well, if Isaac's going to get Andrew Webber, I would assume you would probably get O'Boyle, but unless you go to Lysett, I don't know how you're going to do it. And
You just got to show up to the game, man.
Holmes versus Johnson, you would think, and Holmes loves a big game. He's won 3 titles for 3 different teams. He's won a title with your blokes as well. I don't know if you knew that. But if that happens, what does Sturt do? They put Johnson on Holmes, and then who guards Lysett? Now, TK is probably a good matchup for Lysett. But Jon Warbout's a very good defender as well. So
Will he be quick enough for Matty? That's the thing.
yeah, well, that's the thing. That is the thing. So we don't know. But then Jon Warbout probably is quick enough for Daniel Webber's not that quick, and he doesn't really put the ball on the floor that much. So you could probably just hedge off him a little bit. So Jon Warbout on Daniel Webber, as funny as it sort of seems, doesn't actually sound like that bad an idea for me. But there's a few ways they can go. So I'm not too sure, but. I look at the benches, and for mine, Sturt so much deeper, and we've talked about it before. Rigoni, Burns, Turnbull, Josh Owen Thomas, who comes in and plays a good role. We've got the veteran Mark Bauer, who can come in and guard anyone from Andrew Webber to Matt Lysett if you need him to. And and then you look at Norwood. Benny Howe will come in, or O'Boyle, depending on who they start, will come in and play a role. Matthew Long will come in and play a role. But then you've got guys like Sean Pontifex and Adrian Blom, who are really probably another year or two away from being sort of in the mix of getting in the rotation. And Dave Cooper, he only uses them if he really has to. So they really only go sort of 6, sometimes 7 deep. Now, that's okay if Holmesy and Lysett and Andrew Webber are on fire, and you can win a game with 5 or 6 blokes or players. But I like Sturt's bench, so I'm going to go with Sturt. I just reckon they've got the belief. I generally go with the team who's sitting.
I was about to say that.
They usually feed me a really good story, and I jump on board like Nelson did last week, and I'm doing that again. I'm going to go for the Sabres. So
and away from home as well. It's a big game, and it's the rematch of the grand final from last year too. So both of them want to be back here at Titanium Security Arena to play in the grand final, where they'll face a new opponent, of course, the Southern Tigers, who have been incredible all year. Before we sign off, Giles, I guess in the scheme of things, this is probably one of the biggest games you'll come across before the grand final, if you make it, of course. Just how much does this mean to the group? Because if you win, and then another even bigger assignment there, it's a fair bit of work that goes into this. It's a huge time of day.
Yeah, it's a huge game to us. Like you guys said. The whole, Norwood Sturt thing is, I didn't know how big it was until we actually played against them and they're like talking smack and stuff like that. So it's a big game, man. Like, I don't know anything about Norwood, but I'll do anything to beat them. So, as of right now, you know what I mean, playing for Sturt. So it's a huge game. We're ready to go.
You look like you're hyped and ready.
Yeah,
Energized.
we're ready to go.
This is going to be a fantastic weekend. There's 2 big games, Mars Stadium, Port Adelaide. make sure you get out to either one of them because it doesn't get much bigger than this unless it's grand final week, which is the week after, so be patient. We are really looking forward to it. Doug, of course, great show once again, mate. Really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm loving talking about these finals games, getting into the matchups and sitting with some great basketballers, and I can't wait for the weekend's game, Sammy.
It's going to be great. Tahlia, thanks for coming along.
All good.
Very nice to have you here. And Jos as well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
No, we'll get the handshakes going. And of course, be back next week when we announce all of the Halls-Woollacott awards, the winners from there, and of course the winners from the weekend. Hopefully for these two, it's their teams, but of course it's going to be an absolute cracker couple of games. So we'll see you next week when we join you once again with Premier League Overtime, and make sure you head out to one of the games. We'll catch you soon.